Welcome to the replay. Hello, tea family. How is everybody today? Hope you're having a great holiday. Even if it's just a St. Patrick's Day, we celebrate all holidays here. And in that light, I'm going to go ahead and start the kettle so we can have some morning Irish tea. Now, for those of you that are new or you've forgotten, we want to just say, if you have a question or a comment or something you want to share about morning Irish tea, please just do so in the comments. I have a handy dandy assistant over here who is waving to the camera that nobody can see him, but he will help me by letting me know when we have a question in the comments. We always want to answer your questions, and so feel free to say hello as well. And, share what you're drinking for tea. Obviously, I'm going to be drinking morning Irish tea. So that's always fun. And I'm going to talk today about a couple of different things. We're going to answer your questions, obviously, but we're going to talk a little bit about morning Irish tea. Now, this is our most caffeinated blend that we have. I know I've shared the story about my granddaughter who only needs to sniff it, but for the caffeine to take effect. However, this is a blend of 3 black teas. Everything is always so backwards on the camera. But this is a blend of 3 black teas, and I will show you what it actually looks like as we start to prep. And there we are. So nice, big, huge leaves of black tea you see in there. Oh, it just smells so robust when you open it. And we got it in a temporary green tin to celebrate the day. I see Stephanie says she's having her holiday blend over ice. It's a perfect day for that. It looks really bright and sunny outside, everybody, but what I'm telling you is it's really cold. At least for me, it's cold. Those that like it, like sub-zero, it's going to be warm for them. A couple of my friends that are from Alaska would say, it's not cold, it's warm. But we're going to go ahead and make a pot of this because my assistant loves to have some tea, and this way he won't steal mine. I'm going to use a pot spoon, so as you can see, this is bigger. This spoon that I use makes a perfect pot for a 3 to 4 cup. Just makes it super easy for me with the black teas because I know I don't have to break out the kitchen scale to weigh it out. So we'll put that in there.
Drinking these sparkling pear, but still like pear.
Ah, Diane's having our Starlight pear. That's awesome. Okay. See, I was actually in the mood for a green tea today, but it's St. Patrick's. I guess I could have done it because it would have been green on the right day, but it's a morning Irish kind of day. I almost cheated and did morning sunrise, which is our morning Irish, but with cinnamon added, so it's a lot like our serene sunrise, my favorite. But I would have had to make up a special batch, so I didn't do that.
It's like healthy cereals.
Yeah, it is bigger, and yes, my handy dandy helper likes to complain because I eat, soup or pasta or something with a spoon, or even my cereal with a regular teaspoon, and he always goes for the tablespoon, so that's about right. That's about right for him.
When I use a teaspoon, I'm starving.
Yeah, he always claims that he'll starve to death if he uses the smaller spoon. But we're just going to give this another second because it's starting to boil, and then I am going to have to watch the clock for my 3 minutes. But anyway, so I like morning Irish. Now, when I have a really bold tea like this, I do have some creamer in here. I have some of the milk that we get from a local dairy farm. We drive by the cows all the time. So I've got that in here. I typically, on a straight black tea like this, will go ahead and add a little bit of cream or milk. We're going to talk about something else today, though. There we go. All right. And actually, I'm going to let that sit because we do want it on for right this second. All right. Now, while that is brewing, my timer's on the couch. Smells so good. I can't stop smelling it. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about Morning Irish is, yes, highly caffeinated. It has the highest blend of caffeine in it. However, keep in mind, if you are caffeine sensitive at this point of the day, which I am not, pour it, brew it for a minute, take the leaves out, hand that delicious tea off to somebody else that can drink the caffeine, so feel free to share it with me, and then go ahead and brew it again, and you'll have a significantly less. You'll have usually about 50% less, but 40 to 70% depending, but I always just figure 50%. So the real question we wanted to talk about today is, so if I wanted my tea a little sweet, how should I do that? And the best things to kind of sweeten your tea with. And so what I wanted to do is talk about a few of those things. Some things are familiar to everybody, some things maybe not. One of the things that we often see is a lot of people use honey in their tea. And honey is great. It is a very natural sweetener. It is not bad for you health-wise. No artificial. You just have to make sure you get raw, unfiltered, so it doesn't have corn syrup or anything else mixing in with it. Unfortunately, it's one of those things you have to watch for nowadays. But this will be really good. I don't tend to put honey in my black teas. I like the taste of honey in moderation. I don't want it in my black tea. I'm more of a purist when it comes to my black tea. I typically will stick with honey in some of my herbal teas because it blends well with the other herbs, herbal, the florals and everything like that, and the herbals. So I typically use that one for this. So what other things would you use? Well, there is obviously the easy one that most people are familiar with, and I'm going to open this up just because this is probably what I'm going to, oh no, I won't be using this one. But we have a natural cane sugar here. It's an organic cane sugar. But this is a raw sugar. It's not super processed. And so this would be a really good idea for any kind of tea. The other thing though is in a tea like this black tea, one of the things to consider is not just like a regular raw sugar, but a raw brown sugar that has kind of a molasses taste, because that will pair extraordinarily well with this dark, bold brew of like an Irish breakfast, morning Irish tea. So that is one thing that I would say is going to pair super, super well with this. Again, I would probably go with honey. Regular raw sugar can go with any kind of tea. It's kind of a preference thing, but I do want to bring it up. Now, for those of you that don't want to have the calories or the sugar of a sugar, I know that a lot of times I will take stevia or something as natural or more natural than that. However, that is not what I'm going to be using today. All right, so as we make this, and I pour using my Irish. Okay, if I do this, my Irish teacup and saucer. Now, what I'm going to do, and I happen to have some of this. This is super rare in my house, and I'm going to use it as a treat tonight. It was really, really good today. But I am going to put just one little lump of a sugar cube. Now, you can make these yourselves. This is a traditional white sugar. A group of friends and I had a tea a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was only last week. Seems like a longer time. It's been a long week. But, you know, you put the sugar in, and I get really excited about doing that every once in a while. It always is so fancy to me. Unfortunately, last week for the tea, I wanted to make some of my own homemade sugar cubes so that they would be the raw organic sugars and everything like that, but I just ran out of time getting ready for it. So
Stephanie has a question about raw versus processed.
Okay, Stephanie has a question that we're going to stop for. Raw sugar better than regular white sugar? I'm going to say yes. It is a more pure form of the sugar, and what I have found for me personally is I end up using less sugar when it's raw than I do when it is the regular white sugar. However, I will also share that for years and years and years and years, I've used regular old-fashioned white sugar, fully processed, and it's always been delicious. And that is what is in the sugar cube right now. But good question. Good question. So the other thing that I don't have, and I did, but then it ended up getting used recently. Oh, look, money in my cup. See if you can see that. The bubbles. My family always referred to that as money in your cup and how quickly it would go away. I hope it stays for a while. And now I'm going to do just a dollop of my cream.
Cream line.
Well, it's milk. And I am going to stir this.
You want a stick?
Yes, please. A stick would be great. So, I put the sugar in first. I pour the hot tea over it because that will help that sugar dissolve even faster. Now, when I've gone to some fancy tea rooms in the past, especially the children, I'm leaving that on for a minute, especially when my children were younger and we would be in Savannah and go to an amazing tea room there, they had something called like tea candy, and it looks like little just nuggets of raw sugar, but it is actually has other things. It is a really high-end tea room kind of thing that you will get. The only problem with tea candies, and I feel bad that I didn't have any here that they got used up over Christmas, is that you need to wait. So whereas my sugar is now completely dissolved and I have no problems, as soon as it's cool enough, I can immediately take a sip of my tea and enjoy it. What ends up happening with the tea candies, it takes a while for the little chunks, and they're little, about a third of the size of a sugar cube, if that will give you a visual idea. They are super sweet. They are delicious. They add a raw, unfiltered sugar sweetness to the tea. However, they take a long time to dissolve. So what happens when you have little girls that go there that forget and they take it, they put it in and they think of it like sugar and they stir it around and they wait a second and then they try and drink it and they're like, psh, that's not enough. And then they put more in. And then they don't wait long enough for that. And then they put more in. And then don't wait. And then once it finally melts, then they're complaining that the tea is way too sweet. And I was, how many times can we try and remind them when they're little? You can't put it in all at once. So that's one of the things you have to consider when you use something like a tea candy. If you go to an up level or a high level tea store, or not store, but for a tea party or something like that that has those, then you need to consider waiting quite a bit. I mean, like, you'll have to wait 5 or 6 minutes in order for them to completely dissolve, and so just casually stir them in your tea. That is why we typically don't use them. First of all, they're packed with sugar. Second of all, I typically don't use them because I want to drink my tea way, way, way faster than that. So now, I did leave one option on the table. Oh my gosh, so good.
Temperature of the tea versus honey.
Yeah. This is warm, but so amazingly delicious. Just a hint with just the one lump or the one cube of sugar, which I'm not used to having regular sugar like that, with the cream, just balancing out, but I still get a really good, bold, robust flavor with that morning Irish tea. So delicious. Okay. One of the other things that you can do is there's another sweetener, and we're actually going to make some today. If you will take this. Yay! Dump that extra little drops in there. Okay. So, I don't often do this. We are going to actually flip the camera around a little bit to make it, nope. I guess it's easier if I leave it like this. I'm not a videographer, can we tell? All right. So, one of the things I do like to do is make a simple syrup sometimes. And there's 1 tablespoon and there's 2 tablespoons. Now I can shut this off. Okay. There we go. All right, just wanted to get that off the table. Now, what I can do is, fortunately these have a half tablespoon, equal parts of your sugar and your, so I need 4 of these, this is a half tablespoon. I did 2 tablespoons of water boiling, and then balance that. You match it 50-50. I've made simple syrups. I love to make simple syrups that have flavors in them when I am doing, and then we just gotta stir this around so it dissolves. But I love doing simple syrups when I'm doing mocktails or something fancy with the tea. They're just delicious, and I can add, you know, I could add a little bit of vanilla extract right now, and this would easily be a vanilla simple syrup, and then I could add that in and bring out even more vanilla flavor to any tea that I wanted. So that's one of the ways you can naturally do that when you have the extracts and things. The other thing I love about this is, I do a lot of simple syrups for the mocktails and teas and stuff. But also this is really, really a good way to sweeten a cold brew tea. So we were at an event yesterday, we made green mint tea. And we did a cold brew on that one because the other 2 teas we brought for samples all were hot teas. And we like to do one that's a cold brew. Now, we always serve everything completely unsweetened. Typically there's honey near us or some other kind of sweetener or something on that idea, so that they could add it if they wanted to kind of get the flavor. But we don't want to put any sugars in. We don't bring, everything we bring is unsweetened. So by having that, it's really hard to mix sugar. I know we've probably all tried it. Now, something on the idea of an artificial sugar will be easier, but this, all you have to do is, I've now made this simple syrup. I don't need it because I put the 1 cube in there, but I have it, and then I got this at one of the dollar stores, and now I can just literally pour this in. I will pour it over my cup just because I don't want syrup all over the table. There we go. And a few shakes, and this is it. I've got a simple syrup. I can put it in the fridge. I'm ready to go. I can sweeten a cold brew tea very easily, stirs in, and it's good to go. You can do that with raw sugar, white sugar, whatever.
No granules.
No granules in there because it melts by just letting it dissolve in the hot water. Now, the only other thing that I want to warn you about is honey. If you wanted to make a honey simple syrup, then it's equal parts honey, whether it's an infused flavored honey or regular. However, what I do want to urge you to consider is, you do not want honey to go over 140 degrees if you're trying to keep all the nutritional value and all the amazing things that honey brings to the table. It has to go lower and slower, so nothing over 140 degrees, whether it's in your cup of tea or if it is in a simple syrup that you're making. In that case, I would typically do like 165, heat the water to 165, let it cool down a little bit till I got to 140, and then did the honey. But honey is also easier to add in when something is cold anyway, so you don't have to heat the water as much. But other questions so far?
Diane likes her sweets in her food, not her tea.
Diane likes her sweets in her food and not her tea. I don't blame you. I like a little sweetness when I'm having a super bold black tea. When, you know, one of the things I didn't comment on is green teas, and that is because typically in a green tea, I don't add any sweetener. In many green teas, those are where I'm getting fruit. For instance, Harmony, that blend has a green tea, and then it has the freeze-dried strawberries in it and the orange zest. And so it has enough sweetness in it because of the strawberries. Same thing with Winter's Kiss because it has the strawberries in it. Appealing, one of our fall teas that has apples and black tea and cinnamon blend. I don't typically add any sugar to that one either, because if it has fruit in the tea, that's enough sugar for me and enough sweetness. And green teas, I typically don't add a sweetener at all. I don't feel like they need them when they're well balanced enough. The only time I have used some sweetener in the past with a green tea I'm going to probably fall a little bit more towards honey than sugars. But that is like when we've gone out to like a Japanese restaurant or a Chinese restaurant, and I love drinking the green tea, but that green tea is a little bitter to my taste buds. And so I typically want to add just a couple of drops. Not much at all. I'm not really trying to sweeten the tea as much as I'm just trying to take that bitter bite aftertaste out of it.
Bob's Red Mill coconut.
So I have not ever used, the question is, have I ever used Bob's Red Mill organic coconut sugar? And I have not. And that is because I have funky allergies. I'm actually allergic to all things coconut, all things mushroom, and all things pork. There are 3 allergies I developed as an adult. Unfortunately, because I used to be able to eat all those delicious things when I was younger.
Bacon.
Yes, I no longer eat bacon that is from a pig. But because of that, I even have to be really careful with coconut oil. But I know that there are people that would use coconut sugar in a lot of substitutions, especially if they're going lower carb or keto or have other health considerations. And my friends that do use the coconut sugar treat it just like regular sugar when they put it in there. So, no worries. No worries. But we do, I'm kind of sad because I used to love coconut, and now it's just not on the table. As much as I loved barbecue shredded pork sandwiches from Bub's Barbecue. Yeah, I can't have those anymore either, unfortunately. But it's okay. But see, that's why those kind of alternate sugars are also really, really good. And like I said before, you pick the sweetener that you like the most. I've kind of gone through what some of them here, benefits, things to consider, but it's all a matter of taste. If you love the taste of honey, then add honey to your tea. If you don't want to taste any sweetness with your tea, you want that boldness first thing in the morning with the caffeine, or you don't need it because of the herbal or the fruit in the tea for the green tea, that's perfectly fine too. I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about sweeteners because so many people are like, well, can I use this? Oh, I don't ever use this in my tea, or I don't use that. And we actually had a couple of people ask us yesterday, well, what would you put with this? And I thought I would just chat about that today, especially since we're typically, when we do events, we're near friends of ours from Remy B's where we get our honey, and we now know which teas pair really well with their infused honeys because we've tried them all. They do free samples, and since we always have usually 3 different kinds of tea, we get to mix and match and see which flavors match the best, which is always such a fun thing. But that's what we do. Any other questions today? It's so yummy.
It is.
It's just so yummy. All right. Well, that's what we talked about, and I wanted to say again, so that's the morning Irish that we've been enjoying today. So here's a question for you. Do you put milk in your tea or not? Am I the only crazy one that puts milk in her tea? That's okay if I am. Online with who's here today. I know some people do, some people don't. It's all good. But all right, let's see, I talked about that. Next week, if you have any questions, feel free to give me those. We will be talking about a brand new tea that's coming out.
Diane does no milk tea.
No milk for Diane.
Not even goat's milk?
That's okay. That's okay. We are going to be talking about a new tea that's going to be coming out around Mother's Day. Stephanie adds milk when she makes her onyx chai lattes. Yes. Yes. I do love an occasional latte. I do. But I do like my black teas with milk in them. It is how I was raised, so that's to me how they're supposed to be. Have I consumed them without it and still enjoyed them? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. So next week, we will be chatting about the new blend. Now, the new blend will not come out until June, so just prepare yourself. But, you know, it might have peach in it. Might. Might have been working on a peach blend, among other things. So I have a question for you in all seriousness too, and I would love for you to put it in the chat, and then I'm going to read it. And if you're watching on the replay, still go ahead and comment in the chat, because we do want to find out. We're thinking about doing a giveaway, and we wanted to know, would you rather have a couple of ounces of different teas as a possible free giveaway, or would you like one of our gift baskets that has like a teacup and some tea in it and things like that? Which would you prefer if we were going to do it? We're thinking about doing a giveaway next month, kind of kicking around the idea, so I thought I'd talk to you ladies and see what you thought. And Josh? Josh Dish?
He's on.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what you think? So would you rather a couple of packets of tea, or would you rather one of our little baskets as a giveaway item? All right. Any more questions? Been trying to give you ideas. The loose leaf tea packets. Okay. That's awesome, Stephanie. I appreciate your input on that one. I'm going to go take the rest of that pot before he finishes it tonight.
Too late.
Looks like I'm going to make a second pot. All right. Well, that being said, I thank everybody for coming. If you have any questions during the week, please feel free to reach out, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Hi, Josh.